Okay, so in the previous video we worked on number 12. Now we're going to do number 13. So we write down the two functions for number 13. Let's see, f of x is equal to 1 over x minus 1. G of x is equal to x plus 2. Okay. So as per the instructions, we're supposed to find the composite function f of g of x and then also g of f of x and then state their domains. So let's start with the first one, f of g of x. So what this asks us to do is take the f function, which is 1 over x minus 1, and wherever we see our input value x, we're just going to leave it blank for now. So we're going to put 1 over blank minus 1. So according to this, we're going to put the g function inside of there. So the entire g function goes in as your input. So the g function is x plus 2, so this becomes 1 over parentheses x plus 2 minus 1. All right, we can get rid of the parentheses because there's nothing multiplying and we're not subtracting the whole thing. So this is going to be 1 over x plus 2 minus 1. And then 2 minus 1 will give us our answer for the function, and that's x plus 1. Okay, so there's the composite function. Now we got to state the domain, and this is one of those cases where we do have a domain restriction. It's not just all real numbers, because now we have a rational function where we have something on the top and then x in the denominator. So if we have x in the denominator, to find the domain, all we need to do is just make sure that that denominator cannot be equal to 0, and then solve it. So when we get x by itself, we subtract 1 from both sides and we find the domain, x cannot be equal to 1. So there's the function, there's the domain, and we're done with that part of it. Okay, the next part of it asks us to find the composite function of g of f of x. There we go. So what this asks us to do is take the g function and change its inputs to this function right over here, 1 over x minus 1. And I know I skipped a step there, but it's basically the same kind of idea. So this is now a fraction plus a whole number. So we need to, if we want to combine these together, to figure out what we need to do for this. What we need to do is find a common denominator because we're adding fractions. So if the denominator for the fraction is x minus 1, then we multiply the top and the bottom of this fraction for 2 over 1, by x minus 1. Okay, so this becomes 1 over x minus 1 plus, and then it's going to be 2 times x minus 1 on the top, and then 1 times x minus 1, or just simply x minus 1 in the bottom. So now, for the bottom parts, the denominator, we keep it the same, x minus 1. And then I'm going to distribute that 2 in there, so we've got 1 plus, and then 2 times x is 2x, 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then combining like terms, 1 minus 2 is negative 1, so I end up with 2x minus 1 over x minus 1. All right, so doesn't look like we can factor this much at all on the top, so there's no chance that we're going to be able to cancel out that x minus 1 in the denominator. So let's just find the domain. Since it's a rational function, we only care about the denominator's function. So if we have x minus 1, we got to say that it cannot be equal to 0 and then solve for x. So if we add 1 to both sides, we get our domain. X cannot be equal to positive 1. So here's our function. Here's our domain, and we're done with the second part of number 13.